Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Dan and today it is a Friday, which means another episode of WandaVision, and I'm so excited to talk about this episode. So episode 8 of WandaVision is the second to last episode, and as far as I know, this has been the longest episode to date so far as well. And I thought the length of this episode was actually really nice. It didn't feel super long, but it also wasn't short either. I thought it was a nice balance. I think it in total was, including the credits, was around 45 minutes. So I think it was a lot better than like the roughly like sort of 20 to 30 minutes runtime per episode that we have seen previously in the show so far. This episode we get a lot more of Agatha Harkness, played by Kathryn Hahn, which is amazing. We saw a bit of her origin story and sort of how she got to where she is at the moment. There's definitely still some unknown elements there that we're not quite sure of yet. And it's also suggested that she is extremely powerful, which we did also get to see during her like origin story moments. So that was really cool. Kathryn Hahn again, she just does such a phenomenal performance throughout this episode. I've really loved her character throughout the show so far, and just seeing her now sort of embrace this villainous role more has just been perfection. I've loved every single moment with her in it. So I guess in this episode, Agatha is wanting to know how Wanda, performed the spell that created the hex, essentially. And she takes Wanda through different moments in her life, significant moments, to try figure out like how she got to this stage, and where she can sort of use this magic, which we later hear on in the episode is chaos magic. And I liked how like we literally go through different doors almost in Wanda's memory, and that was really interesting. And we got to see Wanda and Pietro as children, which was cool. And that scene with them and their family was just absolutely heartbreaking. Like I honestly got teary like watching that scene, because it was just also heartbreaking. Like the kid actress who plays Wanda in that scene just did such a phenomenal job. Just like her expression and her joy just while watching the sitcoms with the family, and then just contrasting that with the Stark missile hitting their home and essentially killing their parents. It was heartbreaking. And we've known that's kind of been Wanda's origin in the MCU for a while now, but just actually seeing it on screen for the first time in that capacity was really moving. And I really got emotional watching that scene. The one interesting thing in that moment as well is it is implied that Wanda actually was almost going to try use like some sort of power to stop that missile from going off, or that bomb from going off, but then Agatha sort of pulls it out quickly. I thought that was interesting because, I mean, it almost makes me think that her power is more just sort of unlocked by the Mind Stone, as opposed to being given from the Mind Stone. Because from my understanding, I thought that she inherited her powers from the Mind Stone in the MCU, but it almost seems like those powers were in her already, but the Mind Stone sort of like unlocked it, which was interesting. So we might see more of that play into next episode, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, then we go to the next door, which is the Hydra facility, and this part was super interesting for me. I kind of do wish we saw Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver cameo, but he didn't, unfortunately. Still feel like we might see him in the next episode, but I don't think so. Anyway, we see her sort of take the Mind Stone, and she has this vision of lol. No, I promise that wasn't intentional. But anyway, she has like this vision of this figure that's like looking down at her from above, like in the Mind Stone, and it is Scarlet Witch. Like it's a Scarlet Witch silhouette with like the mask and everything, or the headband. And I'm just like, oh my word, is that like a hint that we're actually gonna see? Because I know we're gonna see the Halloween costume, which was really cool, the Scarlet Witch Halloween costume, but it looked like it's hinting towards that we might get a comic accurate MCU version of the Scarlet Witch costume at the end of the show. Because almost how I interpreted that scene is that it's like her looking at who she could be through the Mind Stone, if that makes sense. And it was almost like her just seeing her destiny through that stone. So that gave me chills as well. We then get to see a scene of her and Vision watching another sitcom in the Avengers facility. Oh, that's the other thing. And all these different sort of moments in her life, she's watching different sitcoms from different, like decades. And that's obviously what ties into the WandaVision show that she essentially makes a reality. So I thought it was really nice that they did include those sitcom moments, because it does just sort of like tie in everything very nicely. I think we kind of as an audience, assumed already that sitcoms did play an important part in Wanda's life. Otherwise, why would you be doing this? But it is nice to get that official clarity and confirmation in the show. So then we see the scene with her and Vision play out in the Avengers facility. It looks like it's pretty recently after the Quicksilver of the MCU dies. And poor Bettany, man. Yo, in that scene, it just made me miss like Vision so much. Like, I've loved seeing him throughout the WandaVision show, but in that moment, like, it just reminded me so much of like who his character was in the MCU, and just his like philosophy and his outlook on life and stuff like that. And shares such a really intimate and beautiful moment with Wanda. And Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany did such a great job in that scene as well. Really, really good scene. It was so well written as well. I just loved it. And then I was kind of thinking we might have gone to revisit certain events like in Avengers Infinity War or Endgame, just kind of more from Wanda's perspective, but that didn't happen. We sort of cut afterwards to go to Sword, where she goes to try like see Vision's body. To my surprise, because I thought she would have taken the body back to Westview, but she doesn't actually take the body. And I know some people have been speculating that she didn't take it either. But yeah, she essentially goes there and sees Vision just torn apart. He's in pieces. Obviously breaks her even more. And she's like finished. She's done. She's just in a really, really bad spot. And then she goes to her car and she sees like this little letter with like this blueprint for a house. It's implied that was Vision who gave it to her. And then she goes to Westview. And the other interesting thing about this scene now is that it sets up Westview to look quite dull and a bit like almost just down and unpleasant. And it seems like some of the people there are like, they just aren't enjoying life, which I really loved that the show did this, because it again reinforces us that although Wanda is in the wrong here for sort of creating this reality and mind controlling people, it's also just giving us a little bit more reason to support what she's done, because in a way it looks like she's almost saved this town and she's given these people meaning and purpose. At least that's how I interpreted it, and I thought that was so fantastic. The show did not need to do that, but I'm really glad that they did. And anyway, then we see Wanda create Westview that we see in episode 1. Everything sort of goes black and white. Stuff goes back to like the 1930s or 40s or whenever it was. And then it's quite a trippy scene from there, because she shares this moment with Vision, and then it's sort of just like she like looks up and she can see like all the stage lights and the cameras, and then Agatha's in the crowd where like the live audience would be, and she's just like clapping like classic Agnes, or Agatha actually. And then anyway, she can hear her children, and she's like sort of snapped out of this trance that she was in or whatever. And then she goes out and she sees Agatha like sort of strangling her kids with power. And then there's the reveal that also firstly it was kind of cool seeing Agnes in like her witch costume. That was quite dope. And then anyway, she says something like Wanda is using chaos magic to create the Hexia. And she says that is like a power from the Scarlet Witch or something. And that was the first name drop of the Scarlet Witch in the MCU, which just made me so stoked. And it again reinforces that at the end of this show, we're going to have a lot more of an accurate version of the Scarlet Witch from the comic books, at least appearance-wise and with regards to her name, which is just so exciting. So I cannot wait for that. I really do think the next episode is going to be absolutely insane. There's also a mid-credit scene, which blew my mind because I wasn't expecting another one this week, and we see Vision resurrected once again, but this time it doesn't look like he is quite himself, obviously, because I don't think he has that sort of personality because the Mind Stone isn't there. But it's like the grey white version of Vision, which is a callback to the classic comic books, which is just amazing. The show is so good. I've been so impressed. I've been so impressed with the show. I really was worried after Endgame what the MCU was going to do. And then I saw Spider-Man Far From Home. It was good. I enjoyed it a lot. But I'm like, how can they reach the sort of scale and excitement that they had with regards to Endgame? And I can tell you that I think WandaVision's been close to that. It's been close to the hype for me every single week, just waiting for the show. And I think the storytelling throughout the season has been phenomenal. It's been so good. And there's more slower episodes at the beginning that were sort of setting the scene for everything else to unwind and unfold. It was so valid and so worth it. And I've just been blown away by the show. I cannot wait for the next episode. last episode. I feel like there's still quite a lot to happen in this next episode because we don't get to see anything with Monica this episode. We don't get to see anything with the Vision and Westview in this episode, or Darcy. And then we also didn't get to see the Evan Peters Quicksilver either. So I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a lot happening in the next episode. It was a phenomenal episode with great production, great writing. Also the sound design and the sound mixing in this episode particularly was fantastic. Super, super good. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments down below. And if you do enjoy these videos, please click subscribe and like. And be back for next week for episode 9. Hopefully I will post a few other videos between now and then, but we have to wait and see. Guys, please stay safe out there, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Until then, bye bye.